Good morning. Welcome to EXSIN Live. I'm Dave. That's Phil to my left. And today, Phil, we're going to talk about how to overcome your fear to be a great leader. Now, people think that leaders don't have fear, but I can assure you there are things that scare them and keep them up at night.
Well, I mean, if you don't have fear as a leader, you're an idiot. I mean,
You're a moron.
you're a
Let's
complete
just be
moron.
honest with you.
I mean, come on now. I mean, you got a ton of responsibility. You got all these other people looking to you. I mean, it's scary stuff, but like everything in life that's scary, you got to walk it out. If you walk it out with a plan, you'll come out good on the other side.
That's a fact. One of the things that I saw through my career in the Air Force, and even as I retired and got into the business world, is that people think that they're capable of working 24/7, 365. And let me tell you, folks, that's just not the case. Having been in an environment where they demanded my time 24 hours a day and people's lives were on the line, if you do not take care of yourself, your anxiety will overwhelm you. Lolly Daskell wrote an article discussing this exact fact. And one thing she said, the first thing she said about a leader in fear is take a breather. You got to take care of yourself. What are your thoughts on that, Phil?
Well, I mean, we've talked about a lot, because we're both a little longer in the tooth than when we were, what shall we say, in our prime. And, things are harder when you're older. It's harder to take care of yourself because we get habits and we get into ruts and I'm talking primarily physically, right? And if you don't take care of yourself physically, you're mentally not going to be sharp. You're not going to be able to do the things that you need to do every day. If you're not getting proper rest, you're not going to be able to do the things you need to do. So, your body, it's the oldest saying in the world, it's your temple, and it's also the machine you have. And so if you got a car and it runs on premium unleaded and you're putting diesel in it, eventually, right away, it's not going to work. And so, I think people get exhausted. I think we put a lot of physically, but I think emotionally, we take on this Superman mentality that, well, I'm in charge. So that means I've got to be available 24/7 and I've got to do everything everybody needs. And the other thing that's really hurt leaders, I think, is this thing right here. It's really gotten to a point where we never shut it off. We never shut it off. When I first got in the business world years ago, you could go home at some point and shut it down. If you were talking business, it was usually because you decided to dial in and check voicemail. It wasn't this texting and social media posts and instant message and phone calls and it's attached to your hip. And so we've done I think a real disservice, not just to leaders but to everybody, because nobody fully shuts it off anymore. It's just 24/7. I mean, we get emails on Sundays at 11:30 in the morning.
Text, messages, email, 100%. Yep.
And you're sitting there going, okay, I'm in church right now. I'm doing whatever, but it's just like, so you are constantly attached. So you have to make a conscious effort to make sure you're getting the rest you need. You're eating the right things you need to be eating. You're just doing the stuff you need to be doing to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and on that same night, you gotta have a cutoff time, right? So 9 o'clock at night, I typically knock it off every night, go to bed, and get up in the morning and do my devotional, and then get to work. But if you're not picking a cutoff time, you're gonna have a problem. I'll never forget when Tony Prisozlowski walked in the office one day at 7 o'clock at night. I was working for him, and he goes, "What the hell are you still doing here?" I go, "I'm getting work done." He goes, "If you can't get your work done before 6 p.m. at night, I don't need you working for me." Yeah. And it was an eye-opener for me as a young guy. So you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to figure out how to get stuff done in a certain window and then move to other things to take care of yourself and your family.
Well, and I think the next thing you said the key thing, though, the family. I think it's really harming people's families because we don't shut things off. It's hurting relationships. It's hurting your time that you need. We know that. I mean, all my kids are grown. My baby's 24 years old. So my kids are grown now. And I look back on things, and I was pretty good at making sure that, I didn't miss events. I didn't miss functions. And you do the same. And we carve that stuff out. But, you get one chance to be a dad. You get one chance to be a good spouse. I mean, you get one chance. And I don't care what anybody says. People can laugh at me. I know there's these intense guys out there that talk about you got to work 7 days a week. And that's fine. That's their opinion. I think they're dead wrong, but that's their opinion, and they have a right to it. But you get one chance to be great in your personal life. And you've got to build that into your day, or you're going to have a lot of regrets when you get older.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The second thing leaders tend to do is they walk around their fear. They avoid it. They don't want to address it, and they let it sit there and stew back here in the background. And it doesn't go away until you step into it. I think it's important for everybody to understand that it's still going to be there tomorrow. It's not going to go away. So you might as well face it today, right?
Yeah, there's this real intense dude out there. A lot of people know about him, David Goggins. He was a guy that was a special operator in the Air Force, and he got out of the Air Force and became a SEAL. And he's this dude that does these 200-mile runs, and he's got the world record for most pull-ups in a 24-hour period. Just intense man. But he wasn't always that way. That wasn't who he always was, right? He was a complete, as he calls it, he was soft. He uses a different word. I'm going to spare everybody that word, but he was soft, and he was lying to everybody about what he was scared of. He talks about in a lot of his podcasts about having fear, this unbelievable fear of water, right? And how he overcame that and what he did. He's a great example of how using your mind and determination, you can change things in your life to where they become better. But what he was really saying was he had to face those things that he was scared of. And in his own words, he said, I was scared of everything. He said, I was absolutely scared of everything. And so, yeah, I mean, people want to hide the things they're not good at. They like people don't know. You and I joke about this. I say, it does no good to try to lie about what you're bad at, because everybody already knows what you're bad at. I mean, it's easy to see, so you got to embrace it. You got to deal with it. You got to take steps to try to get better in those areas. If you do those things, you'll have a much more fulfilling life, no doubt about it.
And then that line, when you have fear, you need to imagine the worst possible thing that could happen in your company and in your life, and then work through it, right? If you can imagine the worst thing that could happen, it's never going to be that bad. You know what it is, and you know how to deal with it. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on imagining the worst thing that can happen to you and working through that?
Well, I think it's important. The old saying, plan for the worst, expect the best. I mean, we said this last week. We're doing a training event for a client of ours, and at one of the breaks, somebody brought. So I said, "Listen, there's no original ideas left, guys, when it comes to this type of stuff. There just isn't. There's original ideas out there in technology. I get that. There's original ideas in different industries. But as far as human nature and how we do things and how we approach things, there's no original ideas left. I mean, we're just not that damn special. I've talked about that before. I think part of the challenge we have is people think that they're more special than they are. I mean, we're all flawed in our own way. We all struggle in different areas. We all have these things. I call them spots. We all have spots that we need to get better at, but we try to ignore them. We try to push them down or act like they don't exist, and they obviously exist. If you have a fear in your business, if you think about the worst possible thing that could happen, then you can formulate a plan. You can have a strategy and a plan to make sure that doesn't happen. And if it does start going down that road, you now have a plan that you can fall back on, that you can execute on, that's going to get you away from that fear. And so, it's a lot like, what's a good analogy? I think it's a lot like the whole world. You own a piece of property in the middle of a swamp, and you're convinced that it's worth a lot of money. And but you just don't know. Everybody else is dumb because they don't know what you got, and so they're not willing to pay you for it. Well, there are those things. You got to cut your losses too, right? You got to be willing to change direction. You got to be willing to go, try different things. We call it turning on a dime. You got to be willing to turn on a dime. You might have, and that's true with plans. You might put together a great plan. You start executing, and you get into it, and you realize pieces of it don't work. So you got to be willing to turn on a dime and change those things, so you can get the end result you want.
Yeah, that's a great comment. I think the next one is my favorite one, because Patton has a quote about this. An 80% plan violently executed is better than a perfect plan that sits on your desk. Don't try to be perfect. There is nobody that's perfect. There is nobody that's gonna not make a mistake. If you think you're that person, then you need to check yourself in the mirror, and you need to figure it out, because the reality of it is if you focus on being your best all the time, you will excel. Just take action. Realize you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah, and I mean, I would disagree with General Patton. This guy, I think a 1% bad plan that's violently executed is better than execution solves so many problems. if you just walk it out, even if it's a terrible plan, but you're executing on it, you're going to have more. You're going to have success. You're going to move in the right direction, right? I mean, but again, we're so scared to fail as human beings. We're so scared to fail that we would rather do nothing and stay exactly where we are now. And that is to me, that's the cancer of society. I mean, it just absolutely steals people's dreams. It steals their potential success. It steals their potential. It just steals everything from you because you're scared to fail. Hell, I fail multiple times every damn day. Nobody knows that better than you and my bride, but I'm not afraid to get up and try things, and that's the whole deal. Go out and try. I used to tell people, I still do tell people, my job I always thought as a parent was to prevent my kids from screwing up so bad that they couldn't recover. I didn't have an expectation that my kids weren't going to screw up. They're going to screw up, right? But you try to help them screw up to the degree where they can recover from it, learn from it, become, and then continue on and achieve greatness in their life. So, fear is the great lie in the world.
It is. Not taking action, fear that freezes you from taking action just compounds itself.
Yeah.
The next thing I think is amazing, and it's something that we forget. You are the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? Yeah. So if you want to get out of that fear place, surround yourself with people who are successful. When you do that, you will find success. It's kind of like the parent tells kids, don't hang out with a bunch of losers because you're going to be a loser. Right? We've all told our kids that. Right? Every one of us has. We've pulled them out of situations where they're hanging out with the wrong crowd, or something happens when they're with the wrong crowd. It's the same thing in business. If you are running around with people that are not successful, check yourself and find a new group.
Well, and I think, you used the great example. I grew up in a small town in southeastern Kansas, and we had a couple guys in town that were heavy drug users that would walk the streets, right? And they were kind of the town. I mean, everybody just kind of, it was small towns. Everybody kind of took care of everybody, but they would, my dad would point at them and say, if you do this, that's what you're going to be, and it scared the crap out of me, I mean, just scared me to death. And I think we don't do enough of being honest with whether it's our kids, employees, customers, potential customers. We call it getting naked. You got to emotionally and get naked with people and say, listen, you're saying this, that you want this. This is what you need to do, but now you're pushing back because it's going to require you to go through what? A little bit of pain. You're going to have to face some fear. You're going to have to do some things that make you uncomfortable. And that holds so many people back. It's ridiculous. We talk to people all the time that'll say, well, they know what the problem is. They know what the problem is. It's not, most problems are easy to diagnose. The challenge is in fixing them, right? And we've got a saying in our business here at EXSIN, if we had perfect business owners, we'd be out of business. Right?
Fact.
I mean, the people that we tend to work with are the ones that finally get to a point where they say, you know what, this isn't working. And then the other thing you'll see, and we've seen this, is customers will get into something, we'll start taking them down a road, and they'll say it's for a different reason, but usually they pull back or pull away, or they'll say, hey, we appreciate it. You guys have been great. We really appreciate what you've done for us, but we think we're good now. And we know damn good and well they're not ready, but that's not our, we're not going to argue with them. I mean, it's their decision. But you've got to continue. This is a lifelong thing. Nobody fully arrives. Elon Musk has not arrived. He hasn't arrived. He's brilliant. He's greatly successful financially, and I'm sure in other ways in life. I don't know the man personally, so I don't know what kind of human being he is. But on the surface, you would go, oh yeah, he's got it all together. No, he doesn't. He's got stuff that he's got to get better at. And it's true for every one of us. If you're breathing, then you're flawed. And if you're flawed, then there's areas for improvement. I mean, so, you just got to constantly, I think, got to keep sharpening the sword for yourself and your life. Your
business is either growing or failing. It's going up or it's going down. It doesn't go flat, right? So
right.
All those comments are absolutely right on the mark. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is something that's really important to Phil and I. It's something that we've worked on for a while, and it's getting support. And what does that support look like? if you're a business owner, you're sitting on an island, and if you're not surrounding yourself with a mastermind or a peer advisory group, you're limiting your future capacity. So if you want to limit your future capacity, then keep going it alone. But if you don't, find the right group of business owners to sit down with and share challenges, successes, growth in your family. Find that core group that you can learn from. And Phil will probably talk about this as well, but we have launched our peer advisory group format, and it's all about 12 months of business growth with tools, tips, and techniques to help you grow your business to get better at what you do as a business owner.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you talk about peer advisory. I mean, when we first met, years ago, you may recall, I was in the process of getting ready to buy a peer advisory group. You remember that?
Yep.
And we started talking about it, and there were things about it. I mean, it's a good group, but there were things about it that we just didn't like. And so we decided to start this journey, and it's been a long journey, but it's been worth it because I feel like we've got the right platform now. But I think, I belonged to a peer advisory group years ago, and I tell you, I did it for my ego. I was joined the one that cost the most money and had all the successful people in it. And I realized a lot of it was just about ego stroking. And we wanted to create something that wasn't about that. It was about getting results. It was about making people's lives better professionally, personally, really, really having an impact on people's lives. And so, owners, like you said, I ask people all the time, who do CEOs or owners of businesses talk to? The answer is nobody, because everybody's looking to them for the answers. And so a peer advisory group, if for no other reason, is outstanding because it gives you that outlet. It gives you that opportunity to talk to other professionals that are experiencing similar challenges that you are, or that have already experienced them, and they have the answers and they can share those with you. We believe that professional facilitation of business owners in a room or executives in a room is going to allow us to hit our ultimate goal, which is to increase the value of 1,000 businesses in 10 years. So, it's a big deal for us. And I would encourage everybody, if ours isn't right for you, still go join one. But if you want to know more about peer advisory, let us know.
Yeah, and we'll be putting some more stuff on the webpage here soon. We're going to do a webinar in the next week or two that talks about it. It's going to be a sample peer group. We're going to do that every month for folks that are interested to see what it's like with no commitment, to make sure you can see how it benefits you. But more importantly, we're going to have it online as well, so you can join from online, or if you can't make a meeting, you can still be a part through the recording if you sign up for it. So we want to make sure we're capturing everything out there that's going on, and that we're giving business owners the best opportunity for success, because right now it's challenging, and we know it. But when there are challenges in the economy is when businesses that do the things they need to do have the most success. So find your niche, find what you're going to do, and go kick it in the backside.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole thing. I mean, you can, the old saying, if you get punched in the nose, you can either lay there and bleed or you can stand up and fight. I mean, you got two choices. There's not a third one, So, it is tough right now. There are a lot of things going on that's tough, Economically, it's one of the craziest, if not the craziest times I've experienced in 56 years of life. But it's nuts. I mean, but again, you got one or two choices. I think this is something that I would say, Dave, is you got to constantly be reinventing yourself. Yeah. And one of the people who I'm not personally a big fan of, but I think's done a tremendous job of doing that, is the entertainer Madonna. This lady has reinvented herself over decades, and is an absolute just expert on how to reinvent yourself, and that applies to business. I was talking to a guy a couple of days ago that is in a trade industry, and one of the things they're doing to respond is they sent out surveys and they found out what their current customer base, what's challenging for them in their general area of service. And they found out that, they provide one of the artisan trades, but there's another artisan trade that they have a hard time getting service from. It's just tough to get somebody to respond. So they're launching a new division, and they're going to go out and create more opportunity for the company in that other trade. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. If you've got, during when the pandemic hit years ago, we saw people, in a little town I live in, there was a company that makes spirits. They have distilleries and they make spirits, and they started making hand sanitizer. And they capitalized on what was a opportunity at the time. Because remember when everybody was in line trying to get hand sanitizers? I mean, anything you go through in life, you look back on after the fact a lot of times and you go, geez, that was kind of dumb. That didn't make a lot of sense, but there's opportunity in everything. There was companies that were lifted up to make masks overnight that made millions of dollars, so, there's always opportunity, and there's always great opportunity in times of unrest and unknown. The people that, again, can manage their fear and can overcome their fear and walk that out are the ones that win.
That's a fact. That is a fact. So don't be afraid. It's going to be okay. Yeah. Find your way to success. So with that, Phil, great day. Have a great trip up to see our friends in Wichita. Yeah, and I will see you. I'll probably see you tomorrow. I'm going to be hanging out here at the office getting some stuff done. But everybody out there, hang in there. Don't be afraid. Find a way to grow your business. If you want to join our peer advisory, check us out at www.exsin.co. Words are coming quick. For that, Dave and Phil, we are out of here.